try to work with me if I have to cough or if I haven't, let me know if I seem low energy. I don't want to come across that way, but
No, you and me both.
I am.
I am totally low energy today. It was one of those days where it was a little bit of a toss up as to whether I come in or not, but I'm here. So I'll count us down in three, two, one. Hi, I'm Richard Randall, and welcome to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Colorado's Real Estate Authority. That is Barb Schlinker. Barb Schlinker is a retired Navy veteran. Barb is an author. Barb's also a pilot and a veteran, and Barb and her team enjoy all that Colorado and the Front Range have to offer. So, Barb, great to be talking with you. What are we going to be discussing today?
Well, Richard, we're going to start with pricing and the market, and that's because the market is definitely correcting, and it depends on what, sorry about that. It depends on what part of town you're in, what kind of home that you have, the price range, the location. I mean, it is a tough market right now. I actually watched a video from Warren Buffett. He was talking about 7 different states that are going to get hit because in the real estate space. And a lot of it has to do with taxes, insurance, the fact that the prices zoomed up during the boom, but they have not really corrected yet. And Colorado was one of those 7 states for sure. And his comments about Colorado were that property taxes went up almost double for a lot of people. Homeowners insurance went up for a lot of people. And those folks that are wanting to downsize are kind of stuck in their homes, even though they might have a paid for home or a low interest rate. Because if they go buy somewhere else, they're going to pay more than double an interest rate, and the property taxes and insurance are higher. So it also creates a barrier for the first time home buyer because it's an affordability issue. What happened was that the home prices went above the income and they stop buying if they can't afford it. It's just that simple. So most of the experts are predicting that the prices, dang it, that the price is going to be fun. Most of the experts are predicting that the prices are going to drop over the next year. It could be anywhere from 2% to 11, 12%. It just depends on what part of town you're in. So we're going to talk about how do you position your home in a shifting market. Most real estate agents have never seen that kind of market. We have a huge turnover in the industry. According to the National Association of Realtors, 87% of real estate agents get out of the business every 5 years. So if you go back 5 years, what was that? It was the boom right after COVID, and everything was flying high, watching the clouds go by, bidding wars on everything. Buyers had to compete against the big, BlackRock companies and stuff like that just to get a house, and then they overpaid for it. So now here we are 4 or 5 years later, especially in this military market. Colorado Springs actually recently ranked #2 in the country for foreclosures. That's really sad for me to say because it's such a beautiful place, great place to live. But the reason is we have a lot of military, a lot of government workers. They're taking advantage of the VA benefits. They bought homes during the boom, no money down. And if they had to move in 3 or 4 years, guess what? They don't have any equity. They're upside down and they don't have solutions. And if other agents have never seen a market like that, they don't know what to do. Some of them are trying short sales, but we're seeing a big surge in the number of bank-owned homes taken back in foreclosure. And so it hasn't really affected the market yet. It's not as many as we saw during the meltdown, and I don't think it will affect the market because it's still a great place to live. But I am going to predict a slight correction into next year. So that's the first topic. The next one is, what about lowball offers? So home sellers get offended if it's not full price. Sometimes they get offended if it's not over full price. And at the end of the day, all of the real estate agents that are actively selling in the market kind of got the memo that it's not necessarily a seller's market anymore. So what they're doing is they're testing it and they're coming in with these low offers. And it's a risk to the buyer if they don't want the house. Sorry, David, it's going to be a hard one to edit. It's a risk to the buyer if the buyer really wants the house. It opens the door for another buyer to get the home. But it shouldn't be something that offends the seller. So we're going to talk about some ways to deal with low ball offers and still end up at the finish line where you all want to be. And then the other question I get a lot is about the cash offers. A lot of people have this assumption that, oh, well, how much am I going to lose in equity if I sell to an investor? And most of the investors will come in and try to take more than half of your equity, no question of that. But ours do a little bit better than that. And there are certain situations, when a home seller might want to opt for that for various reasons. So we'll go into that discussion and talk about why home sellers want the certainty of the cash buyer that is not going to blow up the deal at the last minute like a lot of real estate agents try to do. And the very last topic we're going to talk about is, what is the purpose of doing a pre-inspection on your home if you're selling it? And as always, I like talking about my hot new listings. Richard?
See, there it is. It's contagious. Barb, we air your real estate voice every Saturday. And if people can't listen to the entire show, it is always available on Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or just go ahead and search for Barb. You'll find her on most of the popular podcast platforms like iHeartRadio. Every week, your real estate voice covers great information about the housing market and one of people's largest assets, their home. So, Barb, right now, the real estate boom seems to be behind us now with higher interest rates, more homes on the market, lower demand, with the market slowing down a little bit. How does a home seller know if a house is overpriced?
Well, generally, a home seller can tell almost right away based on the number of showings or the volume of interest on the home. And it's really very expensive for home sellers to overprice the home, especially if they just put it on the market at a high price that's not working and sit there and don't make a change. All the while, the market values are correcting and going lower underneath them. That can really, really affect what you thought you were going to get when you sold your house. So it's not a great idea to overprice a home at any time. And we can help people in any kind of market. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of the show, Your Real Estate Voice. And what we're talking about here is how do you know if you're getting a low ball offer, and then what is it? No, that's not what we're talking about. Let's see. What's the name of this title? Almost a God. Low brain. Oh, how do you know if your home is overpriced? Well, the market's going to speak back to you very, very quickly in the form of interest and showings and requests to see it. Now, I don't care what kind of market it is. I don't care how many showings you get. Not everybody's going to love your home and make an offer. If you get more than 2 at a time, count your blessings. That's a good thing. That will kick us into high gear mode and play mom against dad and try to get the most money for your house. But at the end of the day, the predictions are the values are going to continue to drop into 2026 unless we see a big change in interest rates. Now, I will tell you, during the government shutdown, it really kind of shut down real estate sales for a while too, because there's so many government workers around the Colorado Springs area. So a lot of people are kind of playing wait and see, or maybe they just didn't have a paycheck to make that move. But as soon as that ended, I did see a pickup in sales. I don't think the distressed sale market is going to have any impact at all on this real estate market, except that you've got sellers like builders who they're in the business of building and selling, right? So if they can't get the price they want, they do one of two things. They either incentivize the heck out of the house and offer the buyer all their closing costs and upgrades and fries with that too, low interest rates, everything to get them to buy their home versus buy a resale home. So if you're in an area where you have a lot of new construction, you have to take that into consideration in your pricing. If you overprice a home and you've got that kind of competition, I can tell you these builders are really good at getting a buyer in their doors and showing them their beautiful models, and they look so good and they smell so good. They make it so easy for them. And then boom, they're buying the new construction and not your house. But we've got some headwind. For Colorado Springs was ranked number one for foreclosures. I'm sorry, number two for foreclosures in the entire state. Let's say that again. Colorado Springs was ranked number two for foreclosures in the entire country recently. Now, it's not like the meltdown. However, there's more and more of those, right? That means there's more and more homes that are going on the market that traditionally are priced below similar retail sales. And ultimately, it could drive prices down. And you'll be able to tell almost immediately when you go on the market if the price is right. You can tell by the number of showings that are requested. You could tell by the number of views and saves on Zillow to some extent. But if nobody wants to see your home, there's one of two problems. Either it's a marketing problem or it's a pricing problem, because the buyers eliminate homes online. Their first showing is online. All the buyers will tell you, I found the house, my real estate agent didn't find it. They say that all the time. That's just how the industry is designed these days. Basically, the listing agent has the heavy lifting of presenting the home to the market to get the buyer to say, hey, I want to see that one. And usually another real estate agent might bring their buyer into your listing to go look at it, and hopefully they'll want to make an offer. But if they don't like what they see, either with price or condition or marketing, they won't come to see it. It's just that simple. So, that's why you have to be really, really careful about who you hire to get your home on the market, because some people can make a lot of mistakes. I look at homes, I do property values every single week for home sellers, and I'm quite shocked in many price ranges that I will see some really bad marketing, simple, stupid stuff like pick the laundry up off the floor, get the junk off the counters. It's things that should be real estate 101 that a lot of these agents either just don't do or don't care. And it's a problem. So you have to really defend yourself when you're presenting the home to the market, to make sure that have one of your family members go look at it and go, hey, tell me, would you go look at that home if you were shopping for a home right now? And if not, why not? Because a lot of times, the homeowner may not see it. I can tell you just from going on listing appointments, typically the first time I'm in the house, I have these rose-colored glasses over my face. And, I'm thinking, oh, great, I'm going to help somebody else sell their home. And I naturally overlook the flaws. Well, buyers are not doing that. So you want somebody that's really critical to take a look at your home and tell you what they think and make that correction as soon as possible. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard.
So, Barb, we're discussing what home buyers and home sellers, for that matter, can expect with the real estate market as we go into 2026. You've got a ton of resources. What are they predicting?
Well, all the predictions are basically from not just Zillow, but also some other sources that I have, that the prices are going to drop. Okay, so what do you do when prices are dropping? We have a solution for that. We know exactly what to do in order to get you an offer right now. Typically, the average days on market are going over 100 days, almost all the counties around the Front Range. And that tells me that whoever they hired to list their house is looking backwards at some similar sales and saying, well, your neighbor's house sold for this, therefore this is the price, without really understanding the market and without really understanding the trends in the market. Just last weekend, I was talking to one of my colleagues who was out showing a buyer in a certain neighborhood where there's quite a bit of new construction. And she told me, she goes, the buyer was absolutely in love when they walked into this new home. Everything's fresh and new, quartz counters, beautiful. They gave her financing incentives as compared to pivoting to a used home that has tired carpet that needs to be replaced. They're just going to pass on that. You can't expect the buyers to absorb your flaws. That is your competition, a brand new house. And so that means that, you know, you have to either make your house that pretty or price it very aggressively where they can't deny the deal and want to make an offer in that case. Richard.
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She's the host of the program. And if you are thinking of making a move, call Barb. The number is 719-301-3900. Or as always, you can visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing what is considered a lowball offer here in Colorado. Stay tuned for that. All right, I have to step out for a second.
Did I sound okay, DJ?
Yeah, you're fine.
All right. Had to get warmed up.
Nah, I think it's going to come out good.
I thought I would lose weight from being sick, but I don't think I did.
I usually don't spot those things unless I am weighing myself all the time. So,
Yeah, I don't.
and I don't tend
Just
to do that because I
presses me.
you're like, oh no. Okay. Bring that there. And there. And Richard was telling me that you were uh, looking at trying to redo some of your acoustic tiles.
Yeah, I pretty much made a decision. I'm coming up on the end of my lease.
Uh-huh.
It's like, do I move? You know, I could probably find another place that might save me a couple thousand a month, maybe.
Okay.
But, you know, is it worth it? The whole moving idea is,
Yeah.
oh, God, it's going to cost me that much to move for sure. You know, reconfigure everything. So I think I'm going to stay. I have double the square footage I need. There's a big room in the back. I was watching a video about how to create a podcast studio, how they did it. It's pretty
Right.
cool. Um,
It's usually easier to soundproof a room that's smaller.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, this room is real teeny, but I wanted a space where I could have a guest, maybe. You
Okay.
know. So I've got a room in the back that we might be able to do it. It's just got one window. And maybe get somebody to build a barn door over the top of that. We tried covering it with one of these things, but it still shows through. So yeah, I don't know yet. But yeah, that's on the agenda, probably early next year to get a better studio set up.
Life is never what you think it. I'm sitting here looking at that. We have a show on the monitor, and
Mhm.
we can't control what we watch. So who knows what the hell's on the monitor when I look up there? And it's a game show. And I'm like, I swear to God, that's Deborah Norville, but she's doing a game show. So I look it up, and yeah, she's been doing it for almost 10 years or something.
Mhm.
And I was thinking, when she was such a hot shot at ABC News or CBS, and they were going to have her replace Dan Rather and then do all these other things, I'm pretty sure she never envisioned doing a game show like this. But I'm equally pretty sure that I can't be very cocky about it, because if somebody came in and said, we'll give you $4 million a year and you need to come in for one day to record an entire week's worth of shows, what do you think? I think I'm
Done.
in,
Yeah, done and done.
right?
Like, oh, what time
Good,
do you need me?
good for her that she still looks good enough on TV, to
She does,
flip the
honestly.
letters.
Yep,
Yeah.
she absolutely does. I didn't look up to see how old she is, but yeah, she's got to be a little bit older, and she still looks fine. All right, I got segment number 2 here. You look fine. I look fine. Neither one of us is very healthy today, but we can get
Yeah.
this thing done.
Okay.
All right, you good?
Yeah, I think so.
Count it down in 3, 2, 1. I'm Richard Randall, and welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She's the host of the program, and this is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate. And it does it with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, most people selling a home have some very different ideas of their home's value. Some believe that they should price it at the very top of the price range. Others want a quick sale, and there are others who have no idea at all. So, how does a home seller price their home to negotiate the very best price? And what should they do about low offers? You're an expert at negotiations. That's not something they teach in real estate school, but you've got a couple of decades of negotiating.
I do, Richard, and I get amazed every day at the response that we get to the market when I know and the sellers know we price the home very, very realistically, but the agents don't know, right? So they still come in with a low ball offer. Then they get a competing offer and they're like, oh, puff, puff, I got a competing offer. Now all bets are off. They have to come and make their best offer for their buyer to get the house. So it's really, really important that you sit down with whoever you're hiring to help you handle the sale and make sure that you've got it priced right. Because if you don't have it priced right, everything pivots from that. If you price it too high and you don't have any showings, that's a clue, right? The market has spoken back to you. Or if you price it just slightly higher, right at market value, and you get showings but no offers, or you get really, really low ball offers, that's a clue that you're closer, but you're probably not priced exactly right. I recently sold a property where we started at 600,000, and this is a corporate seller, so they very systematically every 2 weeks lowered the price, and they reached a number at which we got 3 offers on the same weekend. And of course, it was kind of shocking to me because it's not a bidding war market, right? But I went back to these agents and said, hey, we have 3 offers. You're going to need to make your best and highest offer. And the seller's probably going to answer not on the weekend because they're a corporate seller, right? And one of them didn't believe me. She asked me to show her the other offers, which I can't do. The other one didn't understand what best and highest meant. Like, she told her client, oh, don't worry, go ahead and make your offer and they'll just counter your buyer. In other words, the other 2 buyers, they're going to like yours better just because I said so. And that wasn't the case. That buyer didn't get the house, and that buyer was not happy. In fact, she started talking smack about me online. And I went back to the agent and said, whoa, party foul here. She's claiming she would have made an offer 50,000 more than what she actually did. I never got that offer. That's a lie. And it's because of something you told her. No, I would never do that. I more and more, Richard, I get more and more agents when I confront them for stuff that they do. They won't accept responsibility for it. They won't say, okay, yeah, you're right. I said that. I'm sorry. They won't. That's all I want, right? For them to say, okay, I made a mistake. Let's pivot to plan B. They vehemently deny it, even when I have witnesses. So I don't get that. I don't know where that comes from, but you're always better off telling the truth. I don't care what, it is, anyway.
Well, I agree with that. I mean, I don't think they understand that you lose credibility if you let that lie stand. If you correct it, just own up to it and say you screwed up, then you maintain some of your credibility.
Yeah. And keep in mind, in the retail space, these agents are negotiating all the way to the finish line. It's not about the initial offer and whatever contract that you accept and then moving forward from there. They're still trying to get stuff all the way to the end, the inspection, the appraisal, the walkthrough. Now, the walkthrough, it's in the contract that says the buyer is entitled to a walkthrough prior to closing. The purpose of the walkthrough is to verify that the home is in the condition it was on the date of the contract, ordinary wear and tear accepted, and any agreed upon repairs are done. Okay, that's it. That's all it is. It is not their opportunity to negotiate new things. So just last weekend, I had some agent go to the walkthrough. The seller was home, and she confronted him because we originally made a written agreement that he would close on Monday and get possession the next Monday. And it had a bidding war. So they're like, sure, whatever the buyer wants, we'll take care of it, right? So that was the written agreement. They didn't do this form called a post-closing agreement. For some reason, they forgot to put that in their offer, but we still have that written agreement. So all of a sudden, a week before closing, she's saying, well, your seller has to pay money for that week after possession. I said, no, that wasn't the agreement. You don't get to change the deal a few days before closing. So she didn't like my answer. So what she do? She goes to the walkthrough the seller's home and she tells him, you need to sign that form or you got to pay money to stay after closing. And he just kind of looked at her like, I don't know what you're talking about. And she goes, well, fine. If you don't sign it, then you got to move out tomorrow. So she's actually telling this guy that after we have this written agreement, she wants to kick him out of his home and he's got a move planned and all that. I was like beside myself. And fortunately, she said that in front of his dad, who was sitting right there. So I wasn't feeling very good, but I got on the phone and called the agent. I said, what in the heck are you doing? Trying to negotiate something face to face with my client and not even involve me? What are you doing? Oh, I didn't do that. I said, you absolutely did. No, that's not really what I said. I said, I have witnesses. That's exactly what you said. And you said it to me before that as well. And I didn't do that. I said, you can't do that. You can't charge somebody for possession after you've already signed and delivered the deal. So that's kind of the stuff that they tend to do all throughout the process. And it's so frustrating for home sellers because okay, their house is under contract. They have a deal. They know what's going to happen. Then the buyer does their inspection. Now they're asking for all kinds of stuff. Now we may not have a deal, right? So now the seller's having to pay more money to keep the buyer happy. And then on the walkthrough, then they're asking for more stuff. This is how these agents justify their value because they can't find them the home and they can't, that's already done by Zillow and all these websites. And they don't know how else to articulate what brings them to the table. And I think more than half of them have another job, Richard. If 71% of real estate agents in 2024 had zero sales, what do you think they're doing? They're bugging me at 5:30, 6 o'clock at night on the weekends and holidays because they have another job.
Oh, well, Barbara, I have to say, when I found out that that was an issue, I've been telling people you can't ask someone how long they've been in real estate because they can say 10 years, and that's an honest answer. But then you have to ask, but how many homes have you sold? Oh, well, I work out of a spare bedroom and I sell one home every couple of years. That's
Right.
not who I want representing me on the biggest investment of my life.
And the consumers just don't know that. They don't know to ask those questions. And the problem is they run interference and get in the way of what their client wants, which is the house. And it creates lots of fun and frustration for me during the process. So part of this process is that they encourage their buyer to make low ball offers. Oh, don't worry, make a low ball offer. It's a weak market. Therefore, the seller should be happy to pay 25,000 of your closing costs so you could buy down your interest rate and get a lower rate. What do you think? And then they'll present it to me as a win-win scenario. Oh, it's okay. We're going to do a low ball offer and we're going to ask for closing cost and we want a brand new roof. And that's a win-win, don't you think? And it's not. And I'm like, no, it's a win-lose. Hello, pay attention. No, I'm just trying to help my buyer. I'm like, I'm sure you are. And then next thing you know, boom, here comes another offer and their buyer does not get that house.
If an agent is killing a deal, they're not representing their client. And sometimes if they're asking for too much or proposing too much, they're absolutely killing the deal if they don't understand what the market is like the way you do, Barb.
Yeah. Well, my advice to sellers when you deal with that is try not to be emotional. Try to work with them because I have to understand, probably I'm learning more and more, it's getting worse as time goes on, that these other agents think they know what's going on in the market, but at the end of the day, they don't. And if they run interference and they slow down the process, and next thing you know, here comes another offer. Oops, maybe their buyer might not get the house, but their agent was a negotiating master person and decided that, hey, well, if you come in, you ask for all these things, we can get it. And that's how I justify my existence. And so I don't know how long it's going to take for them to understand what the priority is. At the end of the day, if you got a buyer and seller that want to sell, buyer wants to buy and seller wants to sell, most of the time the adults in the room take over and just say, hey, real estate agent, get out of my way, I'm buying this house. But not always, not always. And I've been experienced on the other side of that. I had one just this summer where we intentionally priced the home where we thought we would get multiple offers and sell it quickly. That was the whole idea. We knew we were going to get more than asking price. The first buyer that got in and made a really good offer, 50,000 over asking, did not see the 64 people that were at the open house in 1 hour because they got in early. And the agent insisted on their 3% commission paid by the seller. Okay, nowhere does it say it has to be paid by the seller, but this agent insisted on it. And my seller was like, I only want to pay 2% because they did nothing. All they did was walk through the house with their buyer and write a 10-minute contract. And, so there were two other buyers that made a very similar offer that were more than happy. The agents were more than happy to take 2% as a commission. And therefore, buyer number one didn't get the house. So what happens? I can guess. I don't know for sure, but I think what happened is buyer number one not happy with their agent because they didn't get the house, right? They were a cash buyer and they didn't get the house because the agent insisted on the seller paying his 3% commission. So he got fired. Next thing we know, we're getting this, the seller got this anonymous letter from an obvious real estate agent talking smack about me. And she's all about her open house and this and that. And, it's my fault, of course. And it was kind of, we both laughed about it, but it just told me the story that he got fired from his buyer because, and he didn't have a $700,000 sale because he was hell bent on getting his commission. Can I say hell on the radio?
It is accurate, Barb. I'm pretty sure you can.
I wasn't sure. Anyway, so if you get a lowball offer, my advice to home sellers is step back, don't be emotional. Let me present it in the form of a net proceeds. Let's take it logically, because sometimes these agents are testing the waters. I just sold one just a few months ago where the first offer from that buyer was 600,000. Seller said, nope. Just a couple days later, second offer from the same buyer, same agent, 650,000. Seller says, nope. Then she waited a week and here comes the full price offer. And seller said yes. But what if in that week between offer 2 and offer 3 full price, somebody else got in and got the house? Could you imagine how ticked off that buyer would have been? That's the kind of thing I'm talking about here. So you want to, tell the buyer in the form of your written counter. Don't be emotional. Look at the net sheet. I have more and more sellers go, why are they asking me to pay their closing cost when I have my own? Which is a great question. Okay. But at the end of the day, it's all about, will you accept this dollar amount for this house? And that's the way you have to look at it. So if you are thinking of making a move, we do this every day. We have so much fun doing it. My name is Barb Schlinker, broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. Give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can always reach her at 719-301-3900. So, Barb, what are some other things that a home seller can do to properly negotiate that home sale?
Well, sometimes you can offer things that may not be that expensive, like a home warranty. Maybe the inspectors will deem a water heater dead if it's more than 8 years old. So you might be able to say, well, no, the water heater is 8 years old, but it's still working. And here you can have a home warranty. You can do those kind of things. And you can also maybe even ask some more questions. What is most important to you, about this home? And we can't lie. We can't make up other buyers. We can't say, oh, we have another offer. We're not allowed to do that. But if you do have one, absolutely leverage the heck out of it. You don't have to tell them how much the other offer is. But at the end of the day, you need to hire somebody that really knows how to do this, that does this every day. My name is Barb Schlinker, and you can give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you are thinking of making a move, call Barb, 719-301-3900, or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. A short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing how much do you lose when selling to an investor. Barb's got that answer in just a few.
Well, I didn't follow that script at all.
Yes. I did so well for 2 weeks.
What?
She said she didn't follow that script at all.
No.
To notice that. Actually, that was.
He was like, "Are we still on page 2?"
I don't know.
My radar, because I'm thumbing through trying to find everything.
He's like, "She's still showing the picture from page 2. What do I do?"
I just let her go.
I'm like, let her tell her story.
I told you I had a lot of bitching to do.
I think it's healthy. Think about all the agents that you're speaking for.
Oh, they hate me, DJ. It's pretty funny.
No, I mean the agents that are going, yes, I ran into that yesterday.
Yeah. Or, oh, she's talking about me.
Well, oops.
I'm going to start telling them when they start doing these boner things. I'm just going to say, look,
that's going on the show.
Congratulations. Your story made the show. Don't worry. I won't say your name.
Everybody's anonymous here.
I probably shouldn't be recording today. I have no filter.
The last real estate show that I produced, everybody's name was John or Betty. He's like, I don't like using their real names. Everybody's John or Betty on the show.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it was Mr. John and Mrs. Betty. I thought it was hilarious.
Oh yeah. Real estate, boy, it's a crack up. That is kind of funny. Okay.
I heard something. Oh, actually, let me see. I don't think so.
All right. You going anywhere or you're going to see your son, aren't you? Oh,
Um,
yeah.
Mark's coming. I mean, Max is coming home.
That's what I thought. That'll be fun.
That'll be
I think
good.
my kids are too.
He's he's got this brand new fresh out of boot camp unit that he's taken in Guantanamo Bay.
Wow.
And
Talk
so
about exciting times because I was reading actually, and I don't want to get too far adrift here, but I was reading an article a day or two ago, and it was talking about they anticipate having a lot more people based on fraud and corruption and everything being sentenced to Gitmo, and they're going to be looking to expand down there. So that may be part of what they're sending him
yeah,
his charges down there for.
yeah, but he's dealing with teenagers, right? So
Oh
they,
God.
they go out to the range and he caught one kid with alcohol where they're shooting guns and he didn't. He's just
I think I'll send them to you because there were two clips recently that I saw. And both of them were, one was from Afghanistan, the other one was from Iraq. And I was familiar with both stories, and I'm pretty sure I probably saw the video from both of them previously. But for some reason, last week when I saw those, I realized just how young these
yeah,
guys are. I mean, I look at my son or my daughter and their friends when they were 19 or 20. They're past 19 or 20, but I go back to thinking that's what they look like and that's what they were like. They are really young kids. I mean,
yeah. I
he's
mean,
got to be a father to them in some ways.
yeah, yeah. He didn't string him up and do the formal disciplining, but I said, well, that kid you're gonna have to keep an eye on, I think. They just push boundaries, they're just kids.
Yeah.
So
Well, he's a good guy. I mean, you know what? And they will, when you do stuff like that, I think, I mean, I'm not in the military, but I've seen in life on sports teams and businesses and stuff, when you do stuff like that, then people that you help out a little bit and cut them a little bit of slack, they're either going to just think they can do it all the time. And normally that doesn't happen. Normally they want to be even better for you because they feel like they let you down. And now they want to prove to you that you made a good decision by cutting them a little bit of slack. I think it's
yeah, yeah.
really,
Hopefully it works out that way.
yeah.
He's got to get them working as a unit, and but it's kind of stupid. We sip some alcohol. I'm shooting. At least they were shooting blanks. I'm like, well, still, it's very risky.
Oh my gosh. All right. Let's see. I got a script here. I'm good to go. How about you, Barb?
Oh yeah.
You know what? And I'm going to take a sip of Red Bull here. Because I will say one thing. When you said maybe I
I
have
don't
no
like being the
energy.
healthiest person in the room. I
Oh, but
really
you
don't.
are. But Barb sounds energy wise, she sounds fine, don't you think?
Yeah.
I think the adrenaline kicks in when you start talking about some of these other idiots.
Oh man, the combination of blood pressure and adrenaline.
Yep.
Stir the pot
All
a
right.
little bit. Keep it going.
Whoa. There's a story. Colorado Springs needs 60,000 additional homes by 2035. The average home price 457,000, shortage of 27,712 units. I guess that's apartments. And I'll see if I can get you a link to that. You probably know
Yeah.
all that already, but
No.
No, that came out. I think they were able to pull that story from the Denver market, but
Mm.
apply
Mhm.
some of those numbers to here,
geez.
and they're expecting a huge influx of people. for no apparent reason. So
Well, that's my thing. Everybody looks at Colorado and says, I can't afford Colorado. And the state's
Yeah.
going to hell. And I don't know why they think, I guess we have legal marijuana. And maybe the people who are thinking of coming here are stoned and think it's a good idea. But
I just went over the rental laws over the weekend because I had to take continuing education. The course I took was about support service dogs and emotional support animals. And some of the case studies I read about the landlords getting, $100,000 settlements against them for discriminating against their, emotional support squirrel or something.
my God.
Or do you know that horses, miniature horses, can be service animals?
They're just,
Can you imagine a
but I
miniature
have,
horse in your house?
I know at
I'm
some
sorry.
point, because I knew for a while there were people, these little pot-bellied pigs or something like
Oh, nasty.
I'm not opposed to a
They're not
support
little.
animal for people who really need it. Every time I'm in the store, I see these people and I know damn well that's not a support animal. They just wanted their dog to go shopping with them. They didn't want
Oh,
to leave it in the car or leave it at home. And it's so annoying to me. And especially again, like I said, I'm okay with people who really need it, but
yeah.
well, if they just put us in charge of the world, we'd have this thing knocked away pretty damn quickly. That's what I tell you.
We got Donald Trump in our back pocket. Yeah.
That's right. I every now and then I'll have to say, you know what? I don't think that was a wise thing for him to say. Half the time he says something joking around and they think he's serious. And in any event, though, is every now and then I'll just say, well, he probably could have phrased that better, or maybe he shouldn't have said that or whatever. At the end of the day, though, I always come back and say zero regrets about voting for this guy.
Yeah.
And you know
It's been
what?
amazing.
In 1 year, the difference, and it's got to, I mean, it gives me so much optimism for what it's going to be like at the end of these 4 years. It scares the hell out of these people. Sorry.
I did forward you that
Oh, good.
Patient
that
already?
article. Yeah.
You are amazing. That is
It's
amazing.
amazing.
Producer does.
That is just, wow.
It's amazing.
That is amazing. That's no,
Thank
I
you,
mean,
DJ.
that's no small thing. Yes. Because, I
I
always say
texted
that.
to you.
No,
So
no, I'll say it to you
Perfect.
because I always tell people the easiest thing to do is to say no or to do nothing.
Right.
That's the easiest thing to do. To just take some time and find it and send it and everything. That's above and beyond. So you're gonna, be well regarded by Santa this year. I'm pretty sure. Because you haven't been naughty. You've been very nice.
Aw.
Yeah. All right. You got a new clock?
Yes.
Segment 3. I'll count us down in 3, 2, 1. Richard Randall, and welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. She's the host of the program, and this is the weekly radio show that informs and it educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, many home sellers want to sell their homes for the most money that they can get, of course. However, there are some situations where people need to use other non-traditional ways of selling. Can you tell us about the cash offer program that you've got going right now?
Well, Richard, we can show up at probably we typically when a home seller asks us come talk to them about handling the sale of their home, for almost all properties, we'll show up with some offers, some cash offers. And there's certain times when the investors won't buy them, like if the acreage is really, really huge, that to them, that's kind of a unicorn. They're looking for more cookie cutter homes. But in general, they'll take them as is. And sometimes within their deal, they'll remodel them and let you participate in the upside when it resells. So there's a lot of options for home sellers now, more than ever before. I would say a majority of people assume that when an investor makes an offer, it's always the steal your equity offer, but that's not always the case. And the investors' buy box or buy criteria does vary from time to time, depending on the market. Like if we see the rates come down and more buyers entering in the market, I think these people are going to be making some better offers over the next 6 to 8 months for sure. But there's a certain segment of the population that does not want to deal with the traditional sales process. And I completely get it. What I sell is not fun for most home sellers, dealing with people, getting your house ready to show, having buyers come through your house and criticize the house. Having these buyer agents float these verbal offers. Now, Richard, you went to law school, right? And you may or may not remember the real estate section, but is real estate verbal ever?
I got to tell you, if you're trying to do real estate verbally, you're going to end up losing a lot of money. You're not going to get anything done. It's if ever there's anything, you need to have contracts. It needs to be in writing. You have to have the T's crossed and the I's dotted. It's just the way it is.
Right. And to me, it's extremely unprofessional for agents to go, oh, why don't you ask the seller if they'll take that offer? And then if they do, I guess I'll spend my 10 minutes writing up a form fill, right? To me, that tells me that the buyer isn't really interested. The agent is just playing games, right? And they're, oh, watch me. I'm a negotiating extraordinary person, and I'm gonna basically get the price down, and then we'll finally put it in writing. But every time they play that game, pretty much somebody else comes along, grabs the house, and then their buyer's out of luck. So it's really a mistake to do that, and it's license law that it doesn't exist if it's not in writing. So I don't know where they came up with this idea, but it really is, to me, unprofessional. It tells the seller that that person wasn't serious enough to put it in writing. Of course, they're excited. They want an offer, right? But is it really an offer, or is this somebody just messing with my client? So I pretty much told agents, I'm not playing this game. Either you put it in writing and we'll negotiate it, or go away, take your buyer somewhere else, because it's not the way to do business. And if they think they're going to win that way, at the end of the day, they're not. And that's my message to you out there that are doing that kind of thing. So at the end of the day, that's one of the issues that we run into. Inspections are another nightmare part of the process, to include buyers asking for stuff that are unreasonable, inspectors making up stuff that doesn't seem right. Just a few weeks ago, I had an agent that wanted to punt the inspection back onto the seller and go, oh, hey, seller, we can't figure out how to check the sewer line. So will you do it and then get back to us on what you find? And I'm like, no, that's on the buyer. If you want to do your own inspection, fine, bring in a licensed plumber to check the sewer line. What did they do? They brought an excavation company. What do you think an excavation company is in the business of doing? They're in the business of digging holes and putting in new sewer lines. So what do you think they're going to say? Plus, they asked me they went to this vacant house with no notice and called me and said, hey, can we modify the plumbing to do this with this excavation company? I'm like, no, I don't have permission to do that. What are you thinking? So there's a wide variety of lack of expertise out there. And I confronted her. I said, that was not the deal. We had it in writing that you'd bring a plumber. Why are you all of a sudden bringing in an excavation company? That's a conflict of interest. Oh, I don't know. That's just what I do. So we run into those kind of problems. We run into inspectors deeming systems dead solely because of their age, like water heaters, roofs, furnaces, the whole thing, smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. So inspectors will do that. They'll also make up stuff that doesn't exist. Oh, look, there's a tape crack in the drywall. Therefore, the roof is leaking and there's mold. You have to have a mold remediation company. What? Did you test for mold? Where'd you come up with that? So that's the kind of stuff that sellers have to face and deal with in the traditional sales process. And then my favorite is finally on the walkthrough, if we're getting to the finish line, now the agent starts making yet new and exciting, unreasonable demands and holding back the closing if they don't suddenly get what they want, like a 2-year-old. And they shouldn't do that with me, because they're coming up against somebody that knows what they're doing, and it's going to be a problem for them. And I'll tell them, hey, your story made the show. I'm not going to say your name, but this is not appropriate. That's not what the walkthrough is for. So that whole process, if the seller is familiar with it, many times, if they've done it before, they will tell me, I hate this part. I don't like doing this. I want to sell my house. I want to take my money and go buy another home, or whatever they're going to do with it. But they're, they don't like that process. And they are more than willing to accept a cash offer just to get a firm deal. This is how it's going to go. We got it in writing. Here's the inspection. We're past inspection, going to the finish line, and no shenanigans at the finish line. They don't want to deal with that. They like certainty, and they will take a little bit less money in that scenario versus dealing with the public coming through their house. I just put one home under contract, and we were getting a couple of ridiculous lowball offers. And the house definitely needs cosmetic work. We weren't denying that. That's why we priced it that way. However, we had just decided to lower the price, but we hadn't lowered the price yet. And here comes an offer. And the offer was better than our lowered price. So I didn't change the offer. And so what that buyer did is they said, okay, we'll pay a reasonable price for this home, but we just want a concession to deal with the cosmetic issues. Like, can we have $6,000 set aside? We'll go to Home Depot and we'll get bids for carpet and paint, and we'll have those paid out of the closing. I'm like, great, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with doing that. And it takes away the uncertainty, because we already know the issues, or the major issues with the house. And so I think there's a lot of people out there that just don't want to deal with the mystery of what's going to happen, because they go on the market. Once they finally do get an offer, great. Now we got to deal with them nitpicking the heck out of their house, asking for stuff, and maybe not making it to the finish line. And you don't know about agents' expertise. I had one agent that sent an offer, looked like a great offer, no closing cost, and the seller signed it. Oops, wait a minute, the buyer didn't sign it. And then she comes back with a new offer asking for closing costs. So it's frustrating to deal with the craziness out there. It's hard for me to excuse my industry for lack of professionalism, because the sellers don't understand it. They just expect everybody else to have half a clue as to what they're doing, but it's not the case. So that's why people jump on cash offers. So we will show up and we'll have the option. Now, there are some people that absolutely are not in a situation to do a traditional sale. Like, I have one person that was in the middle of a rehab, and for personal reasons, they can't finish it, right? But if we took that house and put it on the market and said, hey, all you have to do is come in and put in, drywall and paint and flooring and siding and cement, and you'll be good to go, just another $100,000. The average buyer can't do that, but an investor can. So sometimes there are situations where it works for the sellers. And a lot of people just don't want to deal with the traditional sales process. And that's why we're seeing an actual growth in that industry, which is, I think, a good thing, because we show up with offers and they have choices. Either we go with the cash offer, or no, we pivot to the traditional market and do the best we can there. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show. And what we're talking about is, how much less would you receive if you took a cash offer versus the traditional sale? And I will say it could be, right now in the current market conditions, it could be 10, 15, maybe even 20% less than what the typical market will pay. But for that, you're going to get certainty. Is definitely going to sell. You're definitely going to get paid if you have the equity in your house. And I've got one that I just closed where he didn't want to deal with repairing. It did need a lot of repairs, so he picked an investor that would do it for him. He got some money up front, and he's going to get more after they fix it up. And they take care of all of that for him, and he's already bought his house in another state. So we've got lots of options for folks. And we'd love to discuss it with you. All you need to do is give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard.
You're listening to Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. The program is your real estate voice, and Barb is your real estate voice. If you're interested in selling, you want to call Barb. The number is 719-301-3900. And we're talking, Barb, about selling a home. So, Barb, why would a home seller be interested in getting a cash offer on their home, and how much less can they expect to receive when they're doing that?
It really depends. Typically, the investors will charge their own fee for the benefit of using those investors. But some of them make it very easy for the seller. Some will say, hey, leave the house exactly how, take whatever you want, leave whatever you don't want. We'll get in there, we'll clean it up, we'll remodel it later and be able to move on from there. So it definitely depends on which investor. We have multiple investors to choose from. Some of them are buy and hold investors. They're not necessarily flippers. We just had one that got added to our group of investors. That's actually somebody that wants to sit on it and keep it as a rental property. On the break, Richard, you were saying that, there's going to be a deficit in housing out there. So there are investors that buy those as well. And we're able to tap into all these different people and be able to give the seller options versus the traditional fun of going on the market and the uncertainty of when is it going to sell, how much is it going to sell for, and how much am I going to beat up on an inspection and repairs and all that. And one of the things that we offered is a guaranteed sales price. So we will give you a guarantee if you decide not to take the cash offers. Our guarantee is your home sold at 100% of market value, or I'll pay you the difference. So if you'd like to find out more about that, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb. That number is 719-301-3900, or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing what is the purpose of a pre-inspection, plus Barb's hot new listings. You do not want to miss those. Stay tuned. I'm telling you, don't touch the damn dial. Just stay tuned. We'll be right back. That didn't even make her smile. She's just so bent over, coughing and trying to keep
Coughing
her
and
lips from
hacking.
cracking.
She's like, can I just blow my nose for a minute?
Exactly. Stop it, Randall. Just stop it.
Mhm.
You can't laugh when I'm trying to blow my nose.
I'm not sticking to the script.
You know
I'd be a
what?
terrible actress.
No, you know what? No, actually, I'll tell you what. You would be a very good actress because you can just ad lib your way through. I mean, well, because you know this stuff. We could just truly do a show one day where we come in, we did a little introduction thing, and I just say, so Barb, how is the market right now? If you had one piece of advice for people out there who've been thinking about selling their home, maybe now, maybe in the next year or two, you could do a show as simple as that. Just no
Yeah.
question about it. That's just who you are.
Well, and I think
So many of the
my
classic scenes from movies are completely ad-libbed. So
are they really? I didn't know that. I thought they had to stay by the script.
oh no, so many of those are they they're like, okay, here's the serious take, here's the a little bit more playful. This one is completely off script, and they usually end up going with the completely off script.
Interesting.
Especially for the like Adam Sandler and those types of movies. Those are they completely just shoot from the hip, and when they do, it ends up a lot better than the scripted.
Yeah. And they pay all those guys, those writers, all that money to write a script they don't use.
Well, and
Well,
Dave,
so many of the scripts are written by Adam Sandler on his movies,
Oh,
particularly.
really?
I
Yeah,
did not know that.
he'll sit down with maybe three or four guys, and they'll all start riffing, and usually say, okay, well, this is kind of where we're going to be, but the actual take will go completely off script.
Hmm.
Can you put together a reel of bloopers that maybe we can sell to somebody from the real estate voice show? See, that's the problem. We don't make enough bloopers, Barb. You're too good.
That's true.
Okay, so
I'm going to write a book about this. And so,
you
but
know
I
what
think,
I gotta say, I always think of, it's easier for me to think of different ways for other people to make money than it is for me to say, I'll do it. But geez, you could run your own little seminars for young people doing real estate, but then the problem is you're educating your competition, which I am so convinced that they listen to you on Saturdays anyway, but
I don't know. They all hate me. You should hear, Jen gives me feedback. She'll go into in person. She's very in person, continuing ed, and they're just all,
you know what? The only thing I know is a long time ago, that Tiffany Locknett sent
Mhm.
me just this whole big packet and said, Richard, you seem like a nice guy, but I should probably warn you about blah, blah, blah. And at that point, she was already being represented, I think, by Sean Hannity, and then Jim Arthur did some stuff and whatnot. And I didn't even look at it. I mean, if I learned as an attorney, if I wanted to go through, I would have 150 cases at one point. If I wanted to go through all 150 law firms and give you a war story about this law firm or that attorney or this, I could do it because life is not perfect. But I feel very comfortable with this woman, and I'm sorry if the only thing I could think, to be honest with you, Barb, is that she didn't like the competition. I mean,
no, she was the only one on the air at the time, and I kicked her butt.
yeah.
And
Sorry
and
about
she's
that,
copied
Tiffany.
so many of her ideas.
Yeah,
Flattery, and I'm
I don't
cheaper
even
than
care
Sean Hannity,
anymore.
for God's sakes.
Well, I mean, you couldn't handle everybody in the market anyway, so she's
Yeah.
got to get some kind of business, but
I just, it used to bother me. It used to really disturb me. And then I'm like, wait, what do you care? You don't, now I'm kind of to the point where I'm just wanting to have fun, right? So if it's fun for me, I'm going to do it. If it's a grind and I'm not comfortable with that client, I'm not going to do it, so
Yeah, I think that's a good place to be. And you know what? I didn't realize it until you just said it, but I've come to that place too. There are people from time to time that want to be on the show. And in the past, I would have them on the show, but I don't like them. They're not nice people. They're
yeah.
actually pretty miserable people. And between you and I, Douglas Bruce is one of them. I mean, that's a guy who this guy Tron used to have him on almost every Sunday, and he's
Mm.
still out there. And I have him on maybe once a year or something like that. But he's an obnoxious individual.
he
And
lives 2 miles away from me.
does he really?
Oh,
He
really?
does. He does. He has the worst yard. Uh, he
That's
has
pretty
what
funny.
I call uh, spider bushes.
Right. They're filled with spiders.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And he actually built that up. He took out his sidewalk that leads up to his front door,
Mhm.
and he put in all these spider bushes in front of his door. The only way into his house is through the garage.
So here's what's funny. The guy who
Weird.
does our lawn and snow and stuff is the guy who does Douglas's, except I think he has ended up being more of a care provider because Douglas fell and he broke this and broke that. And I don't know if he's a friend or he gets paid to take him out to lunch and do some of these things, but nothing surprises me about, and God bless him. I mean, he's not a bad guy. He's just peculiar, peculiar.
Yeah.
Barb, when people
He
start
made,
referring to you as peculiar, you're on the downhill part of life. Richard Randall, yeah, he's kind of peculiar.
He he's eccentric.
Eccentric, yeah, that's better.
yeah.
Eccentric's better.
I don't know him. I know he did something good for the property owners back years ago, right? In the
Yeah, the
80s.
whole Tabor thing. I mean,
Yeah.
he should always be remembered. And I say this all the time. I mean, he's a hero. God knows what our taxes would be like if not for the taxpayers' Bill of Rights. But
Right.
he's been riding that pony for a long, long time. And In any
Yeah.
event. All right.
I'm excited about your show tomorrow. Want to listen to it
Tina
about
Peters.
Tina. Mhm.
Yeah. You know, I got to tell you what, it is hard to figure out exactly everything that is going on. And after my show today, I texted his paralegal, and I'll give you a preview. I mean, I just said, look, I want to go. First of all, send me an email if there are questions you specifically want me to ask. But I need to ask you, is she really been put into solitary, or is it just segregated housing? What is her health like right now? Can people send her cards? Can people send her books? Can people send her money or gifts? And when it comes to, what her average day is like, can you walk us through that and her health and all? There's so many questions. And if you were to get on to Twitter or X or whatever, there's all kinds of things in there. And there's a guy up north named Joe Altman. And I guess he's got a pretty big following online. And I've heard from some people that him and Nick Fuentes are probably both feds. And the other day, Joe Altman said something about Tina Peters, and then he went up on this rant about how Weiser and Polis, and then all of these people are all Jews and da, 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 da. And I'm like, so you think that is going to help Tina Peters? I mean, what the hell? And that's, I think, why people think that, he may be a Fed or something, because you're causing more problems than you're solving here. And I said on the air today, I've got problems with some of the things that Israel has done, but that saying that you don't like some of the things that Israel has done or you question them doesn't make you anti-Semitic. I don't know. It'll be interesting. I appreciate you listening to the show.
I just worry about her. I think,
I do too.
she got caught in the Democrat machine, the last bastion. And I hope and pray that it gets resolved, or at least they get her away from these Democrats,
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see her transfer to a federal facility and then get pardoned out of it, home or something, ankle bracelet, stay at home, kind of like J6 praying grandma. But even if that doesn't happen, just get her into a federal facility where Trump can tell the person, take care of her, make sure she's
Right.
got what she needs, and I don't want any, that kind of thing. All right. Yep, you're right. He says he's got a 1 o'clock. Let's get started. Are we rolling for you? Yes, he's already rolling.
He's already rolling.
Count us down in 3, 2, 1. Richard Randall, and welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. Barb, in fact, is your real estate voice and the host of the program, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, many home sellers fear the inspection. Many people think most buyers want to purchase their home as is. So, what are some of the high-cost home inspection traps that you've come across when selling homes?
Well, Richard, usually it's stuff that they're not expecting. I mean, when I talk with sellers, I'll always ask them, hey, have you done anything with your sewer line? And I would say probably 8 out of 10 times the answer is, we've never had any problems. It's never backed up, and they've never checked it, right? But it's something that their buyer is going to check. And the problem is, when their buyer comes along, they bring Joe, Billy, Bob inspector that's not qualified to run a camera through their sewer line. I've had them drop things down the sewer line. I've had them break stuff. I've had them get that disgusting long wheel on their carpet. I mean, it's really frustrating, because at that point in the sales process, they're already under contract. They're thinking their home is sold, and now their buyer is finding some flaws that have to be fixed that could cost anywhere from $3,000 to $13,000. That's a big ticket item that most home sellers don't want a surprise about. So the best thing to do is to try to anticipate all of those before you put your house on the market, because the majority of people don't do anything with their sewer line if there's no backups. I had one not too long ago where they checked the sewer line and everything looked fine, and then the next day it did back up, right? So why did that happen? I don't know, but some of these older systems are made with either cast iron, or they're made with something called orange peel, which is kind of like a flexible pipe. that over time, over 50, 60 years, it starts to degrade. And people don't think about what they're running down their sewer line. So if they drop wipes down there and they have a cast iron line, those wipes get caught up on the cast iron. And over time, it could cause a backup. But if you don't check it, you don't know it. If it doesn't back up, you think everything is fine. So you really want to know in advance if any of these big ticket items are going to hit you before you put your house on the market. Like we just last week, we replaced a furnace because it was 24 years old. It was beyond its quote useful life. And I happened to be talking to a furnace guy about another property, and he goes, hey, the laws are going to change after the first of the year. And if you have to replace a furnace, the newer furnaces are going to have to be more efficient and made with all this special materials. And it's going to cost you an extra $3,000 to replace the furnace next year versus this year. So we went ahead and did it just to save a little bit of money. But at the end of the day, you want to, and there's other things. Like recently on one of the inspections, I had the inspector tell the buyer to request this upgrade to the furnace. It was some sort of pan that had to be underneath the furnace or something. But that code is not required until 2026. So the seller went ahead and spent like $1,500 upgrading his furnace to something that wasn't even required yet. So you have to be able to anticipate this stuff as best as you can. And that's why I always recommend to home sellers, get a pre-inspection. Don't wait until you're under contract, you're under the gun, you're in the middle of moving, you think everything's fine, lo and behold, oh, we got a problem with our roof. Whoa, we got a problem with our furnace. Whoa, we got a problem with our sewer or our septic. Those can be very big ticket items, and you want some time to negotiate. I just met with the seller yesterday, and I was suggesting that they do that. And they're like, well, we've never had a problem. You know, the normal answer that I get. And I said, you know, you may not have a problem even on newer homes. I had one where, first of all, I got into a big cat fight with the real estate agent because I had my inspection policy that said these are my rules on inspection. You can't do things like this. You can't kick the seller out of their own home during the inspection. Would you feel good about that, Richard?
I would not feel good about that.
You can't have Joe, Billy, Bob, unqualified, unlicensed inspector check the sewer line because they don't know what they're doing. They break stuff, they drop stuff down in there. And, you know, what authority do they have to look at a system like that? So I was telling this agent, if you want to check the sewer line, you got to bring a plumber. And we got into this, you know, multiple term paper text battle on a Friday night over whether or not her inspector was qualified to check the sewer line. I'm like, he's not qualified. He's not qualified for anything. But I've known him for years. You know, I said, you might have known him for years, but does he have a plumber license? No, he doesn't. You know, and she, well, you can't tell me what I can and can't inspect. And I said, look, just ask your buyer. So finally, her buyer says, yeah, I'm fine with the plumber doing that. So plumber number one came out, checked the sewer line. Sewer line was fine, but the clean out, which is if they had put in a clean out in the newer homes, have them, it's usually a pipe that comes up out of the yard, and it is an opportunity to go into the sewer line from there versus pulling toilets inside the house. Because a lot of sellers don't like it if an inspector comes in and pulls a toilet, you know, without asking permission, because you don't know if they're going to properly reseat the toilet and put a new ring and all that stuff. So, so he checked the sewer line. Sewer line was fine, but the clean out pipe that came up out of the yard was bent and fractured. It probably happened on landscaping. And that plumbing company was insisting there wasn't just one, there were two clean outs. And his bid to repair that little broken pipe and go dig up the whole entire front yard to find the alleged second one was anywhere from $3,500 to $4,200. And the seller's like, whoa, wait, can we get another bid? And I said, absolutely. So we brought in plumber number two. And he goes, first of all, that year, they didn't require two clean outs. There was only one, so you're not going to need to dig up the yard. And second of all, that plumber could do the bid for $600 versus $4,200. So you want time to shop around. You don't want to wait until you're under the gun and you're moving and you're under pressure to get this done to find out if you've got to deal with a big system like that. And so some other stuff that, like, septic is probably another one that takes more lead time than any other system. So if you're in a home that has a septic system, it's not obvious if the leach field fails. That's where the water comes through and it drains out and all that stuff. And I'm not a systems person, but basically, sometimes with different older systems can ultimately fail. And they're very, very expensive to replace. Typically, it could range anywhere from, I'd say, 28,000. I've seen bids as high as $50,000 to repair a broken septic system. And I've seen them low too. It just depends, but you want to know in advance. And then you've got the other problem of having to get a bid through the county. You have to have an engineer design the system. You have to do a soils test before that. All those things take time, and you definitely don't want to wait until the last minute to look at stuff like that. You have to get it done in advance. Otherwise, it could delay whatever closing that you have, or worse yet, maybe even lose the buyer. Another major system that gets hit a lot are electrical systems. You know, most of the inspectors will try to impose today's building code on today's new building code on older homes. So they'll say, well, it's required that you have to have a GFCI everywhere there's water. Well, that's not required. It wasn't required when the house was built, but it might be required now. You don't have to upgrade your home to today's standard, but there's certain brands of electrical panel like Federal Pacific panel that have a really, really bad reputation. If you read online, it'll indicate that at any time if the circuit gets overloaded, the house is going to catch on fire. So most of the time, the inspectors almost insist on it getting replaced. Now, that doesn't necessarily have to take place. It could be that brand or that model of the panel may not be the one that was hazardous, but you want to know that in advance is my whole point of this segment. You don't want to wait until the buyer's inspection is bearing down on you. And now you've got, you know, a week or two to make a decision, get a bid, and get it at least funded out of the closing. Plumbing, typically, I see inspectors will come in and they will just fill up the tub, and they will usually overrun the sink, and then they'll cause a leak and say there's a leak. So there's usually a lot of battles around plumbing that you have to deal with. And then appliances. So just so you know, even though a lot of home sellers are including refrigerator, washer, dryer, maybe bar fridge, those are personal property. So if they are included with the sale, if you don't get the agent to protect you from those systems, it could mean that if they come along and discover, oh, well, the ice maker's not working right, so you're going to have to fix that, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. You know, these are a gift to the buyer. So typically I will make sure there's something in the contract that says is offered as a courtesy as is. Should they fail, contract to closing, seller's not going to replace them. However, we can include a home warranty that will cover those systems. And that's why you really want to market the home pre-inspection, pre-certified, all that kind of stuff, so that you know for sure that you're getting to the finish line without having the inspection absolutely derail your process. So my name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you are interested in selling your home, you want to call Barb at 719-301-3900. And we're talking, Barb, about why home sellers should sell their homes as a certified pre-owned home. Barb, what are some of the other home inspection issues that you've seen come up?
Well, another thing that comes up probably most commonly on almost every home is the roof. In this climate, we have a lot of hail damage. A lot of people will tell me, my roof's not leaking. What is the problem? However, these composite shingle roofs will degrade over time if they get hit with hail. And again, you want to know that in advance. You definitely want to be able to get multiple bids and confirm that that's the right approach to deal with that issue if there is one. And we have roofers that will give me a roof certificate for free. Sometimes they won't certify the roof without doing some minor repair, but what I like is that they're honest with me. They'll tell me, okay, the roof is shot or roof is fine. It just needs a little bit here and there. Decking also gets hit a lot. And but roofing probably is something that you definitely should check out. Sometimes I'll see windows get hit if they have a broken seal or that kind of stuff. And generally stuff that is obvious that you have to fix, broken glass, missing outlet covers, all that kind of thing. It's always good to get a pre-inspection. That way you know what the list is. You don't have to fix everything, but at least you know, and you can get bids and get the peace of mind that you need, that going into it, you're going to pass your inspection. And with the included home warranty, the buyer has the peace of mind that they're getting a good house. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker. Let me do that. Clear my throat here. I'm sorry. You're listening to Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you are thinking of making a move, call Barb 719-301-3900, or as always, visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Barb, when it comes to buyers and when it comes to selling homes, you've got some hot new listings. Tell us about them.
I do. I have a really cool home owned by the Secretary of Veterans Affairs out in Yippee-Yoder, as I love to call it, on 35 acres. Great home, actually, great views. Just needs a little bit of TLC to make it perfect, priced at the low price of $199. We have another home owned by the VA up in Florissant on County Road 100, priced at $260. Super cute 2-bedroom house, gorgeous setting. Just needs a buyer that can do a little bit of work. An amazing house on Autumn Heights Drive. That home was just priced down at $299. Another lovely home at 2436 North Mead at $325. A beautiful rancher in the 80917 zip code at $424,999. An amazing home very close to UCCS, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, great backyard, priced at $439,999. An amazing home on Ross Drive on 1 acre with 4-car garage space, plenty of room to spread out at $759,999. A great home down in Pueblo on 13th, priced in the low 3s. Another amazing home on Stevens Drive in the low 4s on 2 acres. Another VA home on Domi Kite. This is a townhome priced in the low 3s. And a beautiful home on Capitol Peak Way, big ranch with a finished basement in the low 5s, and an amazing home also on Broadmoor Bluffs. And we've got many more coming. We've got a couple of homes coming up, one up on Rampart Range that'll be available next week. And some of these represent some of the best buys on the market. So go to barbhasthebuyers.com and click on our featured properties to see all of them. Richard?
You've been listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, host of the program, owner. Hang on one second. 3, 2, 1. You've been listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, host of the program and owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Give her a call if you're thinking of making a move. That number is 719-301-3900, or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. That'll do it for this week. Barb, have a great week. Look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Feel better.
Yes, feel better, damn it.
Thank you.
I
Trying.
hope you do. So what are we going to do for the promo here?
How about the lowball offer one?
That sounds good. I'm going to take the headphones off. So I don't know. I always get a stiff neck on days like today. It must hunch over.
I
or
know, I
something.
feel that too.
You know what I do? Because the cable's not long enough. I was like, I know that happens to me, but it makes no sense. Well, yeah, it does. All right. 3, 2, 1. Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, airs every Saturday from 11 until noon, right after Cudlow, here on 740 KVOR. This weekend, Barb's going to be talking about, should you consider a lowball offer in real estate? Barb's got the answer. Don't miss it. Now I get to say, get feeling better, Barb.
Thank you. You get feeling better too. Thanks,
Yep.
DJ.
Yep.
Hey, DJ, what's the best schedule for you to make my studio?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay.
I will say it's interesting because she showed it to me, and there's a small little area, and there's a bigger area, and from what you've told me, it sounds like the smaller area, sound wise and stuff. In fact,
It's usually easier to control a smaller area.
I will say this. When you look at that video, it gives you no idea just how small the room she is in.
Yeah.
If
it's
she
really
ever
small.
wanted to have a guest in there, they'd have to sit on her. Well, she'd have to sit on their lap, probably. All right, Barb. We'll talk to you later. I'll let you